Hey everybody, welcome back to Landshark Garage. Guess what? Winter's here. Not much we can do about that. This episode we're going to get the 3+3 ready to participate in a local event here in our hometown. Here we go. Every year we have a Christmas parade here in our hometown, and this year the old 3+3 is going to be in it. So we got to do a few things. Main thing is everything we did on this was mostly cosmetic. We didn't really do anything to the engine. 112,000 miles when the speedometer quit working. So we've been driving it. Gas tanks are original, got a lot of junk in them, and I'm thinking that the fuel pump gave up the ghost, so we're gonna have to get that swapped out. We're gonna do that today. Got some other things to do, but look at all this room we got in Landshark Garage now for the old 3+3. Since it's 20-some degrees outside, I had to put on a little annex because she doesn't quite fit in here, and I'm just fat enough that I can't squeeze around in front of it. So we put up the old Gray Goose. Should we call it that? No, let's call it the Tarpomatic 5000. No, I don't know. Just to keep the wind out. Look at how nice this interior turned out. This thing's been fun to drive. We've been driving it a lot. Of course, you find things when you're driving it that you didn't notice right away. We're picking up a lot of crud out of the gas tank, catching it with these amazing fire starters here. So we're going to swap that out today too. Blower motor doesn't work. That aggravates Mrs. Landshark a little bit when we're cruising around and it's chilly out. I had a temporary battery terminal that was broken in a few spots, so I went ahead and did the right thing and just put another one back on there. That'll work forever. I use this tool. Anybody know what that is? That's a 204 is what it is, but it's a battery post spreader, so you can get it to fit on the battery post without having to jam a claw hammer or something in there. So got a chance to use that. Probably only used it 3 or 4 times in my life. You can tell that because it doesn't fit in the toolbox. Anyway, so yeah, we're getting ready to, we're going to decorate this. So I've got this inverter I'm going to have to temporarily install here so that we can run some lights and whatnot like that. We've got some candy to throw out. And then we got these little toys we like to throw out when we do anything for Landshark Garage in a parade or anything like that. Vice Grip does this, and I think it's a cool idea. So we just went down and bought a bunch of Hot Wheels. We're gonna throw them out to little kids. That'll be fun. Jake's all done, wants to come in. So let's get after this fuel pump. So anyway, this is a 77 Chevrolet C20 454 stock 454. Still got a Quadrajet on it. Not the Quadrajet that came on it, but one I had rebuilt and put on it, and we've been having pretty good luck with that. Ended up having to put a new manifold on it. I did a episode on that. I'm going to end up having to do the same thing on the passenger side because we've got a horrible tick for that. New plugs, wires, stuff like that, cap rotor, and she's been running good. It's very hard to start. I mean, you really have to work at it to start. So I'm going to take this fuel filter completely out. I haven't looked at that one lately, but there's a little paper filter in there. Well, it might be a long one or a short one, I'm not sure. But I've changed this filter a couple times, so I can't help but think that maybe there's some sediment in there. And I'm thinking that's why it doesn't feel like the fuel pump's as strong as it should be. Mechanical fuel pump, just like on a small block, only it's just a taller. I'll show you the new one. But it's hard to start. That's the only thing I'm having problems with is the hard starting. And you know, some of these you just gotta figure out the system on some of these Quadrajets. And then we notice that the blower motor's not working, so I'm hoping it's just a blower resistor, but we'll go through and kind of check everything and make sure it works. I'm pretty sure the blower motor was working before. I've got a new resistor to go in there if that's the case. Yeah, it could be a blown fuse. I don't know. I haven't looked that close into it. Like I said, had to do new battery. We did that a week or so ago. The one that we were using before just wasn't up to snuff. And we'll top off and check all our fluids. Let's get that fuel filter changed first. So there's probably a couple hundred YouTube videos on how to change fuel pumps on small and big block Chevys, but that's my take. Most mechanical pumps, usually if they haven't been changed, especially the bolts that hold them in have a smaller head than normal. So they're like a 3/8 bolts, which should have a head that you'd use a 9/16 wrench on. Most of them have a 7/16 headed bolt on them, just make it a little easier to get on and pull it out of there. This one's got a return system on it. So this hard line goes to the motor. This is in from the fuel tank itself, and then there's a real return on this. So if you don't use the return, you should be able to just put a piece of hose on this that's plugged, and you'll be fine. I've heard of some people having vapor locking problems if they do that, but I've never ran into it. Mine's got all 3 lines, so I'll be hooking this one back up. But I did notice that this has got like a little orifice in it. It isn't completely open. So there is a restriction built into that, and I don't know why. If you do, you know, leave it in the comments down below, and maybe we can learn something from that. I don't know what that restriction in the line itself is for, and it being a return line, I'm sure there's a reason for it. Gaskets are with it. Got some hose clamps out. Trying to get all my tools here. I picked these up. I saw another YouTuber had some of these. Got these off of Amazon. They're just plugs you put in the end of the hose. So we're going to give them a try when we release the demon on the gas pump here. And try and make as little mess as possible. Not always a thing you can do. Like I said, we're going to take that filter out too, so we're going to do that first. See what kind of mess we can make here. Nice thing with this thing being lowered is a little easier to work on for a fat guy. Actually, see that? Just kind of goes in there and plugs that off so that you're not drooling all over the place. That hose is kind of squishy. That being said, I'm going to make a mess because I like to take the hard line off with the pump and then put it on while it's out on the bench instead of trying to sneak it up there. Doesn't always work out that way, but we'll see what happens here. This will give us a chance to look at that. See, this is the crud I'm getting out of the tank. It's basically just sediment. I think I'm probably running out of it. I've probably had this fuel filter in there for, I don't know, a couple weeks. So I don't ever notice it when we're driving it, but you know, there's always junk floating around them tanks. Never did take a look at that tank to see what was going on there. But so I'm gonna change that filter out quick so it's ready to go when we put it back together. So I got that all changed out, ready to go back in. I'm probably on my, I don't know, second tank of gas on this thing since we put it back on the road. As you can guess, it probably, you know, it's not the most fuel efficient vehicle we have in our fleet, but sure is fun to drive, man. Them seats just go for days in this thing. So we'll set that aside there. Let's pop that filter out and see what it looks like. I'm not really sure what size this guy is. That's a great place for a vacuum port. Cyclops down, Cyclops down. So there should be a filter and a spring in here, if I remember correctly. Doesn't really hurt if you take it out, I'm told. don't know that I've ever done it, but that's just one more thing to get wadded up when we're having this issue. Yeah, so it's a short one. So here's the spring. Got that out. So I'll just put this back in. I'll keep the spring in the filter. Might eventually, that used to be all that protected these guys, if I remember right. That filter's got a lot of crud in it too. Tightening this up, I should be able to just tighten this down and leave it. There was no gaskets or anything on this, so I'm not sure how it seals. So I went ahead and put my hose clamp on this fuel line. This is just a compression clamp that squeezes the hose shut. I'll go underneath there and pull them two lines loose, and then we can start taking the fuel pump off. I haven't been underneath this, so I'm not sure. Could be interesting. So obviously I replaced this fuel line at one time because it's fairly new. But that return line there has been here a time or two, or a while is what I should say. Let's take a bath. Did you steal my wrench? God dang dog. It's a little windy out, can you tell? That's my impromptu garage extension telling me how happy it is. But at least there's not snow blowing in here. I could have done this last week when it was nice out, but you know me. I wanna. Sure how to push that off of there. I know I've got a tool for that, but I'm too lazy to get up off of the ground to do it. Well, this guy must still be leaking. The clamp's not clampulating. There we go. Let's get just as much fuel in it, I guess. Well, like I said, just a 3/8 bolt with a 7/16 head. I'll show you that when we get it out. Well, maybe leaving that hard line on there wasn't a good idea. I've done that in the past and it's been okay, but now I gotta go lay in the gas. Sure, because it's longer, I suppose. Oh well, live and learn. Sometimes it's just hard to break that hard line loose down there. It's gonna be even harder now. There's the gas. Oh my gosh. Oh boy. Come on. Alright, so here's the bolt we were talking about. See, it's got the smaller head on it. It just makes it easier to get on it down in that tight location. Otherwise it's just a 3/8 bolt. This thing held a lot of gas. It's got that extra sump on it. The big blocks do. And I took a complete bath, as you can tell. I'm in a different shirt. But got it out of there. Everything seems to line up. Put the new one in. Got the gasket ready to go. Got that cleaned up down there. So, small box, big box, GM. Most of these mechanical pumps are ran off an eccentric on the camshaft that pushes a fuel pump rod, which is down in there. Let me get my little mag light so you can try and see it. A little difficult, but this mag that's attached to it, because you have to push that back up in the block and then use something to hold it up in there while you put the new fuel pump in, so that that fuel pump push rod can hit this arm right here. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I like to use the magnet because that's holding it right now up in the block, and then I use a hacksaw blade because that's how I first learned how to do it, and it's always worked the best for me. Sometimes I've used a pick if I don't have a hacksaw blade, but I have this old Stanley hand-operated hacksaw blade that I use for a lot of things, cutting brake line and stuff. This thing's amazing. But I'm just going to stick that in there and hold that up while I put the push rod in, or while I put the fuel pump in, and everything should be good to go. And then I can just start putting the bolts in once I get the fuel pump laid in there and know that that push rod is pushing on it. This might not be the easiest way to see things because it's going to take like 9 hands to do this. Not so much, but boy, these fuel lines, these old heater lines are just hard as a rock. That'll be the next thing, I suppose. We're going to try and drive this some this winter, but not much. Being a 2-wheel drive and being in a 4-wheel drive environment most of the winter, we might not get a chance to. So there is some oil that comes in there. That's why that gasket's on the fuel pump. I did clean that up somewhat. I didn't get real super aggressive about it because it's an oily pig anyway. But let's see if we can get that stuck in there. This is good if it goes right the first time. Also, the perks of having bifocals. It's the gasket that's giving me problems. The holes on the gasket aren't big enough. What a monkey. So we're going to get them so they go through the gasket first. I love these 5-minute jobs. Okay, now we get to do that again. Good. Good, good, good. Good to hear. That was a hoot. I'm telling you. Yep. I went ahead and did all the stuff down in the floor dry so you didn't have to endure that. Got everything hooked up down there. Should find my glasses. Nah, that wouldn't be any fun. So we should be able to just put this line back on. I would believe. Woohoo, that's pretty cool, huh? That's pretty cool. Let's get this put back on so we're not leaking any of the vacuums that we need, if we need them. Alright. Okay, I went like that. Alright, well. Yeah, I'm gonna throw some electricity at this. You tell me if that fills up. We don't got no leaks, bud. Perfect. Okay. One fuel pump replaced. I don't know, that thing's still just, I don't know if I got a little vacuum leak or what. The carburetor was just rebuilt. It was actually rebuilt for the Camaro, and then we put that Holly on the Camaro. It's the right size, but she's pretty finicky. And since I got everything closed up in here, I can't just let it idle and watch it come off of choke and stuff like that. So I'll do that when I get done working on my blower motor, which is what we're going to do next. All right, so blower resistor right here. Also right here for this particular unit. GAR 89. It's going to go in just like this. All that stuff is what tells your blower motor what speed it's in. Currently, Mine is in super slow. I can hear it, but you can't feel it. So you can hear the blower motor turning when you have the key on. And I'm hoping it's just that resistor, and that just swapping that out is gonna make everything all copacetic. Like I said, it was working okay when we got it, so there's really no reason this shouldn't fix it. On this one, woohoo, they're 5/16. Nope, they're quarters, aren't they? No, they're 5/16. Yep. So most of the time when a blower resistor fails, it's either nothing or it's only on high, because the little resistor part of this is what tells it to be on low and medium and whatnot. So I'm pretty sure there's probably a way to test this. I'm just going to throw a new one in there, and if it doesn't work, I know I've got a new one, and I can just keep going from there, because this has got... What is it, Lassie? Did Timmy fall in the well? Come here, you bozo. Come here. What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? Say hi to everybody. Hey, what's it? Hey. Oh, wood. Got wood. Ah, Jake's got wood. So, that's enough of that. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, I know. Yeah. What do you think? Huh? Got enough gas fumes? Okay, let's get back to this. So, I'll just switch it out regardless. This is beautifully located on this square body, and a lot of older vehicles. I'm fairly familiar with the GM ones. A lot of them are fairly easy to get to. Some of them are an ultra pain in the butt with the newer stuff. Getting to it, you got to take the whole dash apart, because it's usually located interior instead of exterior now. I have one. We had a 2006 Trailblazer with the 5.3. That was a fun car. That was our family car, and the blower resistor in that failed mid-January. I can't remember what year that was. It was a long time ago, but mid-January, 22 below that night when I came home, and Mrs. L said, "Hey, something's going on with the truck." And you went out there, and it was just running. The blower motor was running. There was no keys in it or anything. It was just, it failed open. So I had to pull the fuse on it and wait 3 days to get a blower resistor. So needless to say, Mrs. L and I swapped vehicles for a couple, 3 days. And I'd put the fuse in, go to work, pull the fuse out, and put it in my pocket. It was like my own anti-theft, because nobody would want to drive that thing as cold as it was. But when you put the fuse in, she'd just fire the blower motor right up, swapped it out, fixed it just like that. But that's one of the few I've ever heard of that fails open, and that is a horrible design, because when it's that cold, and it doesn't take very long for your battery to go dead. So there we go. That's the end of that. Let's get back to this guy. Man, I love this truck. She cruises right down the road. We took it out for a little spin the other day. Found another 49 Chevy. And I'm currently trying to negotiate the purchase of. Don't tell Mrs. Landshark. Found a cool old Dodge that day too that was in super nice shape. Not a pickup, that was a car. Four-door car. Interesting. Don't know who owns that one, but I don't know what the right way to do this is. So I'm just going to pry it off of there. This thing probably hasn't been off of here for a minute. Or ever. By the feel of it. Now, I could do a bunch of testing on this, I suppose, and bore you to death, but I'm going to do the right thing and just shake all the giblets out of it. Man, it's got a lot of crap in it. And then we're just going to pull these two 5/16 bolts. New resistor does not come with new bolts. Something to keep in mind when you lose the first one. Otherwise, God, hope there's not a big frickin' mouse nest in here. That'd be gross. We had enough mouse crap with this thing. Then I can take down my ghetto garage door. That's what Mrs. L called it. Alright, there we go. So, yeah. She's beautiful. Alright, well, let's see what happens, I guess. Well, that didn't change that at all. So, must be the switch. Okay, well, it works the same as it did before. So the only thing left in that whole loop is the switch. But I'm not going to mess around with that, because you got to take the dash apart to do that. I don't have a switch. But at least I have a known good part in there. So that's about all that's left to do. Check the antifreeze and oil and whatnot off camera. That's all good. We should be ready for the old Christmas on parade. I'm going to mount this overkill 2000 watt inverter right in here temporarily, so I can hook it to the battery, and then I'm going to run all the, I got Christmas lights to go down the side. I've got an inflatable that's going to go in the back. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. If you like this content and want to see more of it, please like the video. If you got a comment, drop that below. We're very responsive to comments. We really appreciate you following us on YouTube and putting up with our crap when we're just working on our junk. Never forget, drive your shit. We'll see ya.